Welcome to the Powerline Podcast, the official podcast of Greystone Power. I'm your host, Adam Elrod. This month, we're talking about cybersecurity with Greystone's IT manager, David Weber. So sit back, relax, and enjoy episode number 20 of the Powerline Podcast. With the world we live in, cybersecurity seems to be an everyday discussion. In the electric utility industry, this topic is top of mind. This month, we're talking to the person who has been looking out for your co-op cybersecurity for years, IT manager David Weber. David, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Can you give members a little bit of information about what your role entails at Greystone?
Of course. As department manager, I'm tasked with developing and overseeing the implementation of our long-term IT strategy, as well as managing the day-to-day operations of the various roles within the department. I mean, that stems from networking to cybersecurity to telecommunications, you name it.
Members wouldn't know this, but David is the new manager of the department, and his prior role was solely cybersecurity. So you're an expert in this. How would you define cybersecurity?
I see cybersecurity as the science of protecting the organization from current and future threats facing the cooperative. These range from information disclosure to unauthorized access attempts, incident response, disaster recovery, risk management, and so on. Cybersecurity is really an umbrella of a term, and there's many different components to it. And here in the cybersecurity realm for Greystone Power, we really handle it all.
Now, something that has become very apparent over time, and we see it in the headlines, we hear about it, we read about it, is that there are many ways to target individuals. Could you talk about the different types of cyber attacks?
Sure. You have what's most common is phishing, which is an email appearing to be from one source when in reality, there's a threat actor behind it. Another type of cyber attack would be social engineering, which at its core is really a play on human emotions. It's someone making you believe that something is urgent. So you might get an email that says, "Hey, you respond to this urgently," or "We need your attention immediately." Really trying to get you to act really before you think. Ransomware is something that is really prevalent now, and it's really an attempt to collect a ransom by encrypting your data and then charging you a ransom for those keys to unlock the data, which may or may not actually unlock the data. And most times that is paid in some form of cryptocurrency.
Now, you touched on ransomware, and it's in the news, right? We hear about it constantly. We've seen what happens throughout different organizations. What are some other concerns with these types of cyber attacks?
Well, I think it's important to give a little bit of background data here. So in 2021, there were over 5,000 confirmed data breaches. Um, on average, it took about 287 days to identify that a data breach had even occurred, which is why here at the cooperative, we've taken the approach of concentric circles of protection or defense in depth. It's really having security at multiple layers and deploying end user security awareness training to keep security at the forefront of our minds at all times there.
This is a timely podcast this month. With the war in Ukraine, the media has spoken of the possibility of more hacking attempts. I've heard about it even as soon as or as close as yesterday. Do you find that this has been true? And if so, what are some of the things our members can do to be more vigilant against these hackers?
Absolutely. In cybersecurity, we say trust but verify. What I mean by that is if there's an email that you weren't expecting or have some doubt about, then I encourage you to find another means of validating the sender. That might look like calling a known phone number to verify the request or asking questions that only the sender should know or should be able to look up relatively quick there. For example, my cellular provider should be able to tell me my address or other details about my plan that maybe some threat actor would not know. And it's important to really say, "Hey, tell me the details of my plan," to really confirm that they are who they say they are.
Perfect. I think that's a really good, solid advice. And so I'll ask everybody that's on the podcast the exact same last question. Is there anything else you would like to tell our members?
So I mentioned earlier that threat actors often play on human emotions. I encourage our members to take a few extra seconds to really look at what is being asked of you. Hover over those links before you click. Be on the lookout for anything enticing you to take action immediately. Try to halt the FOMO or fear of missing out by just slowing down for another second to take a look at, again, what is being asked of you. And lastly, remember the principle of trust but verify. Just because someone says they know you doesn't actually mean they do. Just because someone says, hey, respond to this immediately or you're going to lose access doesn't actually mean that's going to happen. So trust but verify.
Perfect. Well, David, I cannot thank you enough for taking the time to be with us this month on the podcast.
Absolutely. Anytime. Thank you.
Well, that is all the time we have today. Thank you so much for joining us for episode number 20 of the Powerline Podcast. Make sure you hit subscribe so you get each new episode every month as they come out. And go ahead and rate us 5 stars as well. This has been the Powerline Podcast. Thanks for listening.